Well, joining me now in the studio is the board chairman for the Foundation for Investigative Journalism, Bukky Shonibare. Good to see you. And, well, not too good at the moment. What exactly is going on? You were out there. We saw the Commissioner of Police. And 9 days is, well, by now it's good to say 10 days that he's been out. So what's the story behind the abduction and somehow appearance of Ojukwu within the walls of the police here in FCT?
Thank you. So it actually started on May 1st when Daniel Ojukwu just went missing. He said he was going to Ojuelegba. You know, he told his mom that he was going to Ojuelegba. And I recall his mom saying that it's really unlike Daniel not to, you know, update on his information on where he's going to. That's number one. And there is a particular bag he usually carries. So just because he thought that he would just go out and come back, he didn't carry that back. He even left his laptop. Usually would go around with that. And so, but he didn't come back on time. That day, the second day in the morning, they checked with the office and they realized that, oh, he hadn't come, his phone was switched off. Long story short, it wasn't until the third day and until FIJ hired a private investigator that we were able to discover that Daniel has been picked and is being held at Panti. That's the police headquarters, I believe, in Lagos, in Panti. Now, Daniel's mom saw Daniel just 3 days after he was unlawfully taken. And we like to use the word abducted, and I can literally break that down, why we keep using the word abducted, because it is unacceptable that in your conduction of investigation, you picked somebody, rendered the person incommunicado, threw every family, friend, employer, everyone into disarray. We were completely confused as to what was happening with Daniel. And then by the time we eventually found out, the mother then knew that her son was in Panti. And knowing that the son was in Panti, we started tweeting about it. So there was a lot of, you know, discussion and, you know, uproar regarding hashtag Free Daniel Ojukwu. And so on Sunday morning, on the first flight on Sunday morning, Daniel was brought to Abuja, to the Nigeria Police Force, the National Cyber Crime Center. That's the NPF NCCC here in Abuja. And from there, he was transferred to Force CID. And he was held there in the prison at Force CID. I saw him on that Sunday. I went to visit him on that Sunday. Took food to him and everything. And just listened. And he said they do. Now, at that time on Sunday, we are talking about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It wasn't until Sunday when he was taken to the NCCC that he was told which petition had been written against him regarding a story in relation to alleged corruption of over 140 million naira that has been spent, you know, without due procedure by the office of the senior special assistant to the president on the SDG. That is Mrs. Adejoke
So this is around the corridors of the presidency?
Yes, yes. Because Mrs. Adejoke Orelope Adefulere is still the senior special assistant to the president on the SDG. She still holds that position. But this investigation was actually conducted when she held the same position under the Buhari administration. But I must say something. For every story that FIJ releases, due process is actually followed. And you know those journalistic ethics that must be followed. You must, for instance, ensure that there is due diligence. You must contact the other party in this regard and hear from them. Before we released that story, an FOI was actually sent to Mrs. Adejoke, asking her to respond to certain things. It was when she did not reply.
So there was a communication to Adejoke Adefulere?
Yes. Before that story, to say this is the crux of the story, and this is what we want you to respond on, and nothing was responded to that effect, just like many other FOI requests that we see from citizens or civil society organizations to government officials. So that's how, you know, day in, day out, we are now talking about day 9 and almost day 10 of Daniel Ojukwu still being in the custody of the Nigerian police without being charged, without being arraigned. We've not seen anything. What we have done between then and now is to explore administrative bail, to at least get him out, and then let the proper thing be done.
So he's still not been charged?
He has not been charged. So in relation to pursuing administrative bail, that's what we have been pursuing, and hoping that, backing it up with the protest that we did today, we are hoping that with the promises that were made by the representative of the IG, the Commissioner of Police for the FCT also made commitment, and some other police officers, they also made commitment that Daniel will be released as soon as possible, and we're still waiting for that action.
So all that happened today, but again, there hasn't been communication formally from your group to the presidency, has there?
From our group to the presidency. So it's just been exploring all of this, you know, engagement with the presidency to say that with the police, because we finally knew where he was, to say that, I mean, do the right thing. It's the law enforcement. So the only thing we then had to do is to organize ourselves today, and went to the police headquarters today. So
Bukky, as of today, because he's quite a young professional, talking about General Ojukwu, as of today, does anyone know his state of health, or is he okay, is he alive and well, Daniel Ojukwu? To
the best of my knowledge, Daniel is alive. Daniel is, to the best of my knowledge, also okay, at least, but there is no one that can ever be okay in a cell. Daniel is not completely healthy. You know, I would need his consent to disclose. So to put that kind of person, you know, in the cell, in that state, Daniel wore the same clothes until we gave him change of clothes like 6 days after in custody. So, I mean, somebody that was not prepared for something like that. So it's just to answer that question, at least to the best of my knowledge tonight, Daniel is alive.
Does it worry your organization and other civil society that this is happening in this administration, knowing full well that in Tinubu administration alone, we have tons of journalists. I mean, tons of journalists in the cabinet, and the president also has been said to be lover of the press. So why is this happening? Because this is just not about Daniel. Before Daniel were others. So what's the racket about all this and against the media?
So which is why on this Daniel's issue, one thing you would notice is that it's not just journalists that is talking about it, because the Daniel's issue points to one major thing, that the civic space in Nigeria is continually being shrunk with every possible means. Remember the NGO bill, you know, and that law that was almost passed as a legal document to literally, you know, lawfully, you know, stifle dissent voices here in Nigeria. And so you will notice that for all of us that came out today, and we call ourselves, you know, the civic actors against, to ensure protection of civic actors. All of us came out to say one thing: injury to a journalist is injury to every Nigerian. Injury to a journalist is injury to everyone within the civic space. Injury to a journalist is injury to everyone who have dissenting voice in Nigeria. Section 22 of the Constitution guarantees freedom of the space. Section 39, subsection 1 guarantees the right to freely express yourself. And so when you look at other constitutional provisions, our ground norm, our apex law, and when you have the law enforcement agents literally violating these laws, it tells us that it is happening to a journalist today means it could happen to anyone. And it is under this same administration where on the World Press Freedom Day, the president came out to say that, you know, journalists have been protected under his administration. Yet we've had at least 11 journalists in this particular administration that have been taken or unlawfully detained or arrested at one time or the other. Well,
we'll stay on this, and we do hope that other senior colleagues in the government, specifically Dele Alake, Bayo Nonuga, the Minister for Information, Ajurin Gelale, all of you have to come to this and ensure that the laws are obeyed. I'd like to thank you for your time, Bukky Shonibare. Very good to see you again, and thanks for all watching.